Jerry Mallory here for SB Nation and PrivateTrade.com. Before we go full throttle in NFL draft analysis, let's take a look at some potential additions or subtractions on the Lions roster before the young studs come in and take all the attention away from some of these veterans. We'll start with Matthew Stafford. We know he's going to be here for quite some time. The question is, will he do his contract extension this year, which will free up cap space? How much is he going to be worth? Well, there's a few things you want to look at. I think first and foremost, comparing him to Joe Flacco at the moment is just not realistic. Simply put, Joe Flacco, we can argue who's going to be the better quarterback, who has more talent, but he is the highest paid player in the NFL. He is a Super Bowl winning MVP, and so Stafford's contract won't be that high, but it's going to be very high. I think the player we want to look at is Tony Romo for the Dallas Cowboys. He is coming up on a new contract. An extension is supposed to get done this offseason, and this is the type of contract that Matthew Stafford's going to get. Romo has done more. He is more proven. He's made it to the playoffs on a couple of occasions, but Stafford is younger. He has the potential, and I think his contract will mirror that of Tony Romo's. Hopefully, the contract will get done this offseason. It could save us lots of cap space this year, as much as $10 million, depending on what the cap hit would be with that restructure. And look for that to be in the neighborhood of $16 to $17 million annually. David Akers visiting the Lions is simply put. Jason Hanson is a long-term fixture here, but the front office has a different opinion as to how much he's worth. Some things we have to keep in mind. The loyalty aspect of it, saying he's with the team for so long, and he's one of the greatest kickers in NFL history. This means a lot more to the fans and a lot less to the front office. Jim Schwartz, Martin Mayhew, Tom Lewan. These guys have not been Lions fans for 20, 30, 40 years like we have, and they have a business front. So if Jason Hanson is not willing to meet what they're looking for in terms of a kicker, yes, they will look elsewhere. Now, the mainstay of free agency has come and gone, but there are still some needs for the Detroit Lions. We'll take a look at some of those needs, and we'll just throw a name or two out there as for guys they could bring in. These will probably be bargain signings. We already hit our home runs: Reggie Bush, Glover Quinn, Louis Delmas, Chris Houston. But like we said, there's still some holes to fill. Starting off at defensive end, we could use a veteran at that spot. I think Lawrence Jackson would be the most logical choice. Dwight Freeney may cost a little bit too much. Osi Umenyiora is gone. John Abraham looks like he's going to be gone as well. So look at Lawrence Jackson. And don't forget, June 1st, there will be roster cuts. We can use another defensive end. As for wide receiver, we need a number 2/number 3, particularly someone with a lot of speed. We've heard this term quite a bit, someone that could stretch the field. Well, Darius Heyward-Bey was in town. It looks like it's going to be up to us in the Indianapolis Colts, so we'll have to see how that goes. But if we can add that key piece right there in free agency, this will lessen the likelihood of the Lions drafting maybe a Robert Hoods or someone of that like in the early rounds of the NFL draft. We could use a veteran cornerback. Eric Wright, he's had a lot of issues with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Looks as though he may be out of there. That would be the type of player that you could bring in, potentially for a cheap contract. But let's not forget about Ron Bartell. The front office seems to be very pleased with him. And in terms of our number 2 or number 3 cornerbacks, I am pleased with the trio of Jonte Green, Bill Bentley, and Chris Greenwood. I believe any one of those guys has the potential, particularly Bill Bentley, to step up and be that starter opposite Chris Houston. But if we could bring in one more veteran, similar to Eric Wright, that would be good. On the offensive line, a lot depends on what Riley Reese is going to be. Is he going to be a tackle? Is he going to be a guard? And then how comfortable they feel with Jason Fox starting at left or right tackle. So let's just say we need to bring in an offensive lineman. If we're talking about interior, Brandon Moore is a guy you look at. He was with the Jets for quite some time. There seems to be some interest. And then if we're bringing in a tackle, I think it's just something that we would need for depth, like a Brian McKinney. You don't hope he can start, but if there's some injuries, well, he did start for the Ravens at one point not too long ago, so maybe he has a little bit left in the tank. In addition to that, I would like to bring in another speedy running back, someone that can also be a return man. If Reggie Bush goes down, we still lose that element. And then we are going to need maybe a kicker and a punter, but we will at least need a punter. And so there's been a lot of talk that will be addressed in the draft. We don't know. David Akers is out there. We'll have to wait and see. We have about $7.5 million in cap space right now. Things can change. Like you said, the Stafford contract extension may go through too. So there's a lot to look forward to. So that is your quick hits in terms of the roster additions or subtractions we can make before the draft. Coming up soon, yes, you'll be seeing my beautiful face once again, and we're going to be breaking down this draft full throttle. So that's going to do it for right now. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching pictures and listening to me, and we'll be back very soon breaking down the draft. And as always, this has been Jerry Mallory, SB Nation and PrivateDetroit.com.